Hey guys, welcome to week 4. This is linemark.com and I'm Alex Irving, your host for the next 20 to 30 minutes perhaps, depending on how long this runs on for. Anyway, today is Monday, it is week 4, which means this is a month now of me recording the weekly vlog series for you guys. And today I am off to Redditch because we've got an installation going on, which I'm going to show you, a little bit of indoors, a little bit of outdoors. But today's a big day because I'm actually being audited for my ISO 9001, which is a quality assurance standard that essentially is a way of showing and demonstrating to our customers, you know, we deliver a quality service and it's backed up by systems and processes in the sort of back end of the business, if you like, that really define everything we do, set the standards for us so that when you get your lines, essentially that's like the very last part of your journey with us, because up to that point everything else has been talk, essentially. You know, we've come out, we've met you, we've had the conversations, we've done the follow-ups, we've done the quotations, and then we've agreed the sale, we've agreed the dates. This is like the very last part, and this is actually where you get to see what it is you bought from us. And of course the customer needs to make sure that what they're buying is actually of good quality and standing. It is what they'd agreed to buy and what we'd told them we were going to deliver for them. And really, that's kind of where I see our ISO fitting in. So ISO 9001, we've got it as a standalone. We're not doing the 45,000, 100 million, billion, whatever it is, and the 18,001 yet. They will come later because it's so expensive. And of course, we are a very small team. So it takes time for me to put all this together. I mean, well, let's say we're a small team, we're a team of 7 people, so we're very, very small. It's hard to, grow, spend all that money, put the systems in place, and of course make sure you actually use those systems. There's no point in just putting it in place and then not actually doing anything with it, just having the standard for the sake of having it, because that's bullshit. Anyway, enough of me talking. We're going to head to Redditch in Worcestershire for accurate cutting services. You guys saw us here in week 3, I believe, last week, or maybe it was week 2 the week before. So we've done most of the install already. This is like the final phase, and we're doing on a mezzanine level shot blasting and internal line marking, and we've got a little bit of road markings to do because we need that for our ISO 9001. And let's cut straight to it. Let me show you what we're up to. So audit's pretty much finished off. John behind me is just setting up the external gear. And why don't we switch over and get you a proper visit, seeing as this audit's gone great. Got our ISO 9001, happy with this. Let me show you what we're really doing here. It is Tuesday afternoon. I feel absolutely knackered. And my day is like, it's not even close to being over yet. So today we've actually got a night shift on. One in Harlow and one in Bishop Stortford, I believe. Now, funnily enough, I was actually born in Harlow. I was born at Alexandra Hospital. I actually lived in Bishop Stortford as well. So I was there till I was about 3 before moving to Spain. And then I moved from Spain back to the UK, where I now am. Anyway, that's what we're doing tonight. Now, normally I wouldn't go out on a night shift because I've been at work all day. This morning I had a site meeting. I had another one this afternoon. So I had one in Rugby which came as a lead from Ash at Lineway. And then I've got another one that I've been to over in Bedford. And then back here dealing with a few bits. So you see behind me, just put a quote together for the customer that I went to see this morning, upload that to YouTube, and then I can put that onto the quotation. I'm also just finishing part of the training system we've got. So as I've been building linemark.com, one of the things I realized is I made a shed load of mistakes. Some of them very, very expensive, I might add as well. I made a shed load. Anyway, I invested, so take you right back to the start. So I had a bit of a difficult start. You see, I ran a facilities management company. So FM for me, I was an electrician 15 years. And then when I started my own FM company, I wanted to get outside, do something else. I got into landscaping. And as that sort of grew, I delivered schools. And as part of the schools, they wanted the fields line marked and the playgrounds line marked. And I actually did some of the worst line marking you could believe. In fact, I nearly lost 6 schools as part of an academy trust just on my line marking. It was that bad. And anyway, I decided that I was going to be the best at line marking. And I told the school, you know what? The lines, you're right, they're shit. They're going to be better than ever. In fact, we are going to be the go-to company for line marking. It'll take me 6 months. We'll be the guys that will deliver the best lines. And they didn't believe me. They were like, well, look, Alex, we're gonna cancel your contract and bring in this other company. And I was like, no, just let me try and fix this. Let me get it right. I went out and I bought this line marking machine, this Macca, it was called by a company called Fleet, a GPS one, and I started delivering line markings. And previously, if I were doing a running track, like a 400-meter running track, a big oval for athletics, it would take me 2 days. For 2 of us to put it in. It then took me 2 hours once I got this machine. Not only did it take me 2 hours, it was probably the best line marking you'd ever seen. In all seriousness, it really was. In fact, I got so good at it, I started delivering line marking for other landscaping companies. That's how good I felt it got. I say how well I felt it got. That's what actually happened. I started delivering line marking for other companies. Anyway, I realized after, long story short, I realized I really enjoyed it, but I got broken into and had all my landscaping gear and a lot of my line marking gear robbed by a guy in Northampton. Anyway, the machines were subsequently sold on. I found out where one of them went to, but there's nothing I could do about it. Anyway, one of them ended up in Nottingham, or just outside at Mansfield, got sold on, and a guy's got one of my 3900 line marking machines, which he's still using to this day. He's out line marking with my machine. I know who he is. There is nothing I can do about it unless I can get hold of the machine and go, here's the serial number, call the fucking police. But as it stands, nothing I can do about it until that day happens. And that day will come at some point. But anyway, back to the point. I got broken into, everything got nicked. I had to make a decision what I was going to do. And I decided to bin off the landscaping and focus full time on line marking. Now, I didn't have any money because we'd had everything stolen, and I had asset finance in place, and I had loans and bills to pay. And I was in a catch-22 because I couldn't pay the bills because I couldn't deliver the work, and I couldn't deliver the work because my stuff had been nicked. And so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I decided the only way out of this was to sell my house. Now, if you've ever had a conversation with your wife and it's along the lines of, hey, we're going to put the house up for sale, us and the 2 kids, we're going to move into rented, nothing I can do about it because we're going to go bankrupt if we don't do it. Let me tell you, that is a shitty, hard conversation to have, and that will test your marriage so well, but not a position I would ever want anyone else to be in. Anyway, I got a load of money once we sold the house, and when I say a load of money, I spent a load of money, more money than I had, really, more money than I should have spent. In fact, I ended up getting some asset finance on top, and I probably put in about £250,000 into assets, spray machines, bought a lorry, bought trailers, bought thermoplastic trailers, bought grinders. In fact, there's so much stuff. I spent a fortune. And I realized that I actually use virtually 1 or 2 bits of equipment day in, day out. The rest of it, I now have to pay to store, costing me another £1,200 a month just for storage for the shite I don't use. And the only reason I keep it is because I've spent that much freaking money on it that the resale value isn't worth parting with. I just have to sell more line markings and make sure I get it in bloody good use. Anyway, all of this is to say that I decided that as we were growing and I was cocking things up left, right, and center, because I wasn't from line marketing. I didn't know how much to charge, I didn't know how to do things. There was no like how-to guide on how to do anything. I just made it up, and I had a customer phone and said, "Hey, can you do some lines?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, no worries at all." I went out there, totally cocked it up, spent 2 days on my hands and knees cleaning the block paving to put it all back, and then redid it again for him. And this happened a couple of times. And then it wasn't even just that part. Then it was like all the back office. Like, how do I put the quotes together? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I handle the health and safety, the RAM side of it? And then the quotes. And like, it may seem easy because I did quotes in my landscaping, but quite honestly, when I put a quote together, I was using like a Word document. I was doing like a, like they got a nice letter from me, and it maybe had a couple of pictures on it, and it's like, hey, look at our work, everything's great. Look at this Word document we put together. But quite honestly, it was amateur. I mean, the other way I tried it is I use Xero for my accounting, and so I decided to use Xero to put some quotes together as well. And I thought, but that'd be pretty cool. Xero looks smart, looks professional, looks tidy. I put this in with my Word document as well, and it's like all laid out. I give them a PDF and I post it, and I was giving them like a brochure and shit like that with it. And quite honestly, it sucked. Those former quotes, if you're still sending them out in the post, or if you're doing them as a Word document and sending it out to people, honestly, so behind the times. Like, it just sucks. There is a better way. Like, our quotes now, they are so much better that ours incorporate images, but they also incorporate videos. They're actually like an interactive quote system, so the customer can add and remove things like car parking bays, disabled bays, EV bays, whatever. They can literally add and remove these items. They can adjust quantities that they might need. So we'll spec it, and then they can adjust it and say, oh, you know what, let's say it's too expensive, we can't afford all this. We go, great. Well, we don't do discounts, but what we can do is we can then take bits out that aren't as necessary at the moment. So if this part over here is not a priority, let's take out the full color EV and just go for, just the logo in the middle, even cheaper. You don't need the full green background. And so it's like a self-service portal. And then it includes videos like, these are the paints we use, this is how we remove the lines, this is how we install the lines, this is blah, 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 blah. So anyway, all of that got put together, and I realized we were taking people on. What we needed was like a systemization for other people coming into the business to say, this is how you do everything here, not just the quotes, but how we produce the RAMs, how we produce the quotes, how we do the follow-ups, how we engage and contact and communicate with our customers, the things we say, what emails we send, and everything's then templated and systemized, so that it doesn't matter who we take on. It's like their role is basically defined so clearly that it's like, you can do this, this, this. So if you're going to send a quote, in fact, let me give you an idea. Like, on the wall, before we systemized everything properly, we were doing things like, when we had, say, follow-ups, it was like, we need to do this deadline, we're going to do this, all the projects are this way, this is how we're going to book it in, this is when the follow-ups are done, this is what we're going to do with the meeting links, this is the initial call, what questions we're asking, when do we need to be able to do it, like how quickly do you need to walk on the lines, what do you need from the project, is it compliance, efficiency, new spaces, what have you tried? So have you tried like thermo, have you tried sprayables, have you tried MMAs, have they not worked, have you purchased it before, what's your experience, how long do you need it to last? I mean, that's something that I think is so simple. Like, how long do you need this line marketing to last? Well, forever. Well, okay, nothing's gonna last forever. So let's be realistic about this, right? When we say how long do you need it to last, if we're talking, let's say indoors, maybe a 2-part epoxy is gonna last longer, but does that match up with, say, your budget as well? And we wanna know, what's the anticipated lifespan? How long do you really need it versus your budget? Like, okay, if we can't, like, you want it to last forever, but really you probably don't. Like, things might change in 10 years. So is 10 years a realistic lifespan? Is 5 years a realistic lifespan? We get other people who say, well, I retire in 5 years, so as long as it lasts 5 years, I don't care. I think, okay, cool. In this case then, like, we're gonna give you products and say, roughly, this is our anticipated lifespan, and it's based on what you think. Now, obviously, everyone says forever to start with, but we really need to ask the question and drill down and say, let's talk reasonably, what would be realistic for you, because we'll look at each product and give you a budget. And then anyway, so all of this is like, we need to know why you're looking for the lines. Like, is this just a case of you just want to get a price? Is it just because it doesn't look very nice and you just want to tidy it up? Or is there a purpose, i.e., have you had an HSE inspection, or has somebody been injured? Is there something we need to know? Because that will impact a couple of different things. How quickly do you need this done? If you've got a 30-day notice, like maybe we can't actually help you because our lead time is 6 weeks, at which point we don't need to go through everything else because we can't meet your deadline. So it's important to understand these things up front. Other reasons, for example, it might be they want a refresh. Okay, cool. We're just looking for prices. Okay, well look, I'm gonna be upfront, we're not the cheapest. So if it's just pricing and that's the motivation for your buying, you're better off going somewhere else. And we can recommend a couple of different companies. So things like that have changed. Previously, I treated everybody that came through the door as like, they're a customer, they have to buy from us, like we're gonna do it. Now I'm like, well, okay, why do you wanna buy? And what spurred you on? And if I think you fit, then I'll put the effort in, because quite honestly, putting a quote together, going out and seeing people, it takes time. And then there's all the follow-up. And that's what I'm saying, everything needed systemizing, like a process for doing it. Now we eliminate people quickly. And that's one thing people get wrong. A lot of people just go, every job that comes through the door, every inquiry is like gold dust. They have to do it. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. Like, to start with, the answer is no. Convince me that I should make the effort to come out and see you and spend half a day and 50 quid in fuel to actually come out. Then, like that's done with a phone call for us. So we need to understand what is it you're looking for. And sometimes we do it on a Zoom call. And then we need to go through the plans. And then we set like a follow-up procedure, but we agree with people. We don't just bang a quote out on email and go, call you in a week or two, see what's going on. You get ghosted and no one's interested in that. So for us, it has to be an organized, exactly when are we having the meeting? And if I can't get hold of you, what should I do to get hold of you? And usually it's like, oh no, I'll be there then. Okay, cool. Because like, should I have your mobile number as well? Like if you don't turn up to our Zoom call, what should I do to get hold of you then? No, I'll definitely turn up. Okay, cool. Because like, I don't want to piss around. And so anyway, all of this is simply to say, there now has to be a process for everything. So one of the things I'm working on right now is essentially that process. If I show you what it looks like, let me just give you a very quick sneaky preview of what we got here. So this is essentially what we do. So like we've got a process for everything we use. So when we're using different paint products, we've got each product we're going to use, where we're going to use it, where we're not going to use it, tip sizes, pressures, etc. that we want to spray at, dimensions that we're going to be putting down for all of our spaces, whether it's disabled bays or whatever it is we're putting in, 3, 4, 5 triangles, like how we're going to lay them out, how we're going to get things square. So like all of that, this is for the guys doing the installs. Then we've got exactly the same for like say line removal options, like how we're going to remove them, the pros and cons of each. Then we've got the same for like surface drying, then we've got indoor lining, so equipment we're going to be using, how it's going to work, our process, like setting things out, or whether we're using different paint products, which ones we're going to use, how we shot blast things, this is what's, what we're going to do. Same with the grinding, so we explain to our guys what we're going to do, literally everything. And then it goes into like the health and safety side, and we talk about, the risk assessment side that we're going to do, and they've got access to do like a, let's just open this up. If I click here, it'll open up like a dynamic risk assessment for them to do on site, and then everything that goes with it, pure documents that we have to issue to people so they can access like the construction phase plans, etc., etc. And then we go how we win work, so tools we're going to access, the pipe drive, so how we use our CRM, how we check things on it, inquiries. Now the purpose of all of this is to say that like we do videos like this so they can click play and they can watch a video and go everything we're going to do. So the idea here is essentially that everything we do has to be systemized and documented, and then we have this online training academy for our guys so that when we take on anybody we can go, you're going to get the training. This tells you exactly how to do your job, and it's available for everybody within the business. So whether you're installing lines, whether you're doing administration and accounts, whether you're doing sales and whether you're doing marketing, it doesn't really matter. Literally every aspect of your job is then defined. So that's what I've been working on anyway today.
Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday morning. Turns out I have left my roof open overnight. Shit. Not how I planned on starting Wednesday. For fudge's sake. Oh dear. So I didn't go to site last night. I was going to go to Harlow. Oh shit. Oh, everything is soaked through. I never went to Harlow because quite honestly, I was a bit too tired, having spent all day in the office. But I just realised now, had I gone this, bugs, I would have shut my sunroof, wouldn't I? Better get the towel. Anyway, that's the start to Wednesday morning. Let's hope it gets better. So tonight we came to see the Hunter. While they were very good, this is even better. So what we've got is an anti-slip line that's been put down here, looking really, really nicely done. But you'll notice it gets pretty dirty because it doesn't get any water on it, nothing to clean it, so it does pick up a lot of the dirt. But what I think is really cool about this car park, if you look along here, what they've done is they've created the lines by adding in a really wide, sort of 500mm wide sort of pad. And what it's done is it's created a really high contrast finish. I actually think for a student sort of car park in the middle of Leicester, I think it's bloody awesome. Anyway, not as good as the Hunter. They were pretty cool. But that is it for Wednesday. Hey guys, it is election day and I have just been to the polling station. Said to my wife I was going to go with her later on, but she likes to scrutinize every decision I make, telling me who I can and can't vote for. And so I decided, I actually got some new sunglasses. Oh, check these ones out. I think they're the same actually, pretty much different color. Anyway, what do you reckon? So anyway, went into the polling station, all sorted, voted BNP, of course. No, I'm joking. I don't want to get sectioned. No one really votes BNP. I don't think there's a party you can vote for. Not around here anyway. Anyway, today we have a bit of a road trip. I'm going to see one client in Leicestershire and then all the way up to Manchester to look at another job up there as well. So a bit of a drive on today. Let's go for it. Hey guys, welcome to Friday. We've been asked how we put in parking bays. In fact, you can use it for parking bays, pallet bays, walkways, lorry bays. Doesn't really matter. We use it indoors and outdoors. We've been asked how we get the lines completely parallel. Now, it was a bit more than that. We were actually asked how you do the 60-degree and how you do the 45-degree angles as well for angled parking bays. If you want to find out how to do the 60 and the 45s, head over to linemarking.expert. We'll show you exactly how we put those together in the Line Marking 101 playbook. But in order to get the lines completely perfect, 90, so you can add in all these parking bays in a row, we're going to start out with what we call a datum edge. Essentially, this is just a straight line on the floor. Doesn't really matter where it is, just has to be straight. So we're going to use a string line for this. So Harry's going to give me a hand. So if you can stand over there, Harry, and I'm going to run out the string line. And now, while I do it, actually, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a shake because it's a very small string line and they're not the ones we would normally use, to be fair. This is just for the example. So straight edge, we're going to call a datum edge. All we're going to do is ping it in on the floor. Now I appreciate that's a little bit hard to see perhaps in this light, but it's super sunny outside and believe it or not, it's even harder to see it outside. But we have got our first datum edge. Now what we need to establish is the start point. So for this one here, I'm gonna work backwards, let's say this way. So I'm gonna bring my start point over to here. So this little edge that we see right here is where we're gonna start our line. So I'm gonna grab a piece of chalk and my tape measure. Now all I'm gonna do is just put a mark on the ground to say this is the start point right there. Now what I'm looking to do, this is my 3 foot mark. Now you can do 3 meters, you can do 3 feet. I would go with feet just because I think it's easier, you know, to do in an area like this because it's quite small. So all I'm gonna do is pull this out to 3 feet. So I'll start on my 1 foot mark here. So Harry, if you can just stand right there for me. All I'm gonna do is measure this out now. I'm looking for 3 feet across. So this now is 3 feet. So if you jump your foot out the way, from this point here to this point here, we have 3 feet. Next, what I'm gonna do is work out my 4 foot mark. Now my 4 foot, I'm gonna measure off of this side here. So again, Harry's gonna stand just on this piece to give me a hand. Now I don't know exactly where it is, so I'm gonna work it out by putting a curve on here. So I'm actually gonna bring this out. So this is my 4 foot mark. Now, if you're looking closely, you'll see my 4 foot's here. The reason I'm going to 5 foot is because the front of my tape's broken and I just wanted to bring it out, but I'm still doing 4 feet. So roughly where it is. I'm going to hold my chalk against the 4 foot mark. I'm going to draw a curve on the ground, which is somewhere in line with where I need it. I'm not sure exactly where, but ultimately this will be, in just a second, my 4 foot mark. Next, what I'm going to do is go back to this position over here. This is where I'm going to find my 5 foot curve. It's going to intersect with this one. That's going to give me a perfect 90 degrees. So with Harry helping me again, we're starting it at number 1 foot here. So I'm actually going to go to 6 feet on the tape, but only because my tape's broken, as I mentioned. So this is just going to be 5 feet. Now what I want to do is, again, go to my 5 foot mark with my chalk and literally draw a curve. That's it, if we let go of that one, Harry. So what we've now got is we've got an intersection right here. This, where it intersects, is going to line up down there, and that's going to give us a perfect 90. Now that's only half the story. So let me mark this one in. I'll show you what this looks like really quickly. And all I'm going to do is just bring this down. Now I'm going to bring the line out a long way. It doesn't really matter. All that I need to see is that it intersects right there. That will give us our perfect 90. I'll ping that in. Great. So I can clearly see where my chalk line now goes over that intersection. So to prove this, all I now need to do is check my measurements. 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. That gives me a perfect 90 degree. But that is only half of your parking space. What we also need to do is get the next line in. Now we've already got the 3 foot line in. So what we want to do is work out where our 4 foot mark is, somewhere over here. Now this is going to give us the points we're going to use to then get a second datum edge in running all the way along. The reason we want that is when we're doing our parking bays, let's say we're going 2.6 meters wide, all I'll do is I'll put a tape this end and I'll just keep walking down every 2.6, put my line down, or 3 meters, depending on how wide you want to go. I'll just keep putting my mark on, and then I'll come to this side, I'll string across the dots, and I'll do exactly the same. So every 2.5, 3 meters, whatever I'm doing, I'll just keep dot, 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 dot. That'll basically give me a load of dots on the floor. And all I need to do now is either string line them to line them up, or if you've got one of the GL2000 lasers on your line marking machine, you can line up the dots and just spray it straight in. So let's get this one in and I'll show you the final part of your parking bay to go in here. So again, with Harry's help, it's always easier with 2 people. We're gonna just mark out 4 feet from the start point. So we're looking at this intersection, if I just highlight it a little bit clearer, this intersection right here. So we've put this one down. Harry, if you can just stand on that for me. All we're gonna do is come out 4 feet from here. I'm gonna draw a nice big curve on the ground again. Great, so somewhere within this curve, we know we've got our 4 foot mark. So to find out, I'm gonna come to this corner just here. And Harry, if you can step on that one more time for me, just over there. Great, I'm now gonna come to 5 feet. And all I'm doing is looking for this intersect. So again, I'm gonna do a nice big curve, straight across. Great, this little intersect here, that is my next 90 degree angle. So what we'll do, with a string line again, I'm just gonna pull this across. If you could stand on that once for me there, Harry. Great, I'll pull this across. Where they intersect, I'm gonna pull my line in, and that's it. That is my second line on my parking space. Now, as I mentioned, the way I would actually do this in practice, because I've got a long datum edge, I'm not putting 1 bay, I might be putting 100 in. I would actually put my tape back down here, sorry, my string line here. So Harry, if you can just step on that for me right there. Great, and as I walk this off, give it a bit of a shake as I go, all I need to ensure is that the string line intersects both these points here. So I can now literally ping that line in. I'll do it one more time to make sure it's really down. Great, that's giving me the second line on the ground. So my start line is set. Now all I need to do is fit my tape measure on here, and you can just roll the tape out in one go. If you just have someone stand on it, roll it out, and as you're walking down, you just mark everywhere your lines need to be. Same the other side, you can join that up. Now, this has taken maybe 5 minutes for me to explain it, you know, going through detail like this. When you're actually doing it in practice, this takes 2 minutes, I would say, and you've got yourself a perfect 90 degree bay. Now, the harder part of this, of course, is adding the angles and the 45 degree bays. As I mentioned, if you're interested in finding out how to do that, go to linemarking.expert. But I'm gonna jump back to the office now. I'm gonna show you how we do this on paper and hopefully that'll help clarify if this didn't, and because the chalk's maybe not showing up so well. Let me show you on paper as well, and then we'll end the week there. I will see you guys week 5. Okay, this is a 3-4-5 triangle. Now the reason this is important is because when you put your parking spaces in, let's say you're putting in bays like this all the way across your parking, your car park, for example, what you want is for all the bays to be straight. You don't want like this, where I've got a bay that comes off at an angle, I've got another one that's straight, one's a bit narrow. They're just not quite right, are they? And you want them to be perfectly straight in a line all the way across. Now the way we work this out, the way we do it, we use what's called a 3-4-5 triangle. It is really straightforward once you understand the basics. So what we do, we start out with what we call a datum edge. Now, that's just a technical term for the starting line that we're going to use. For this one, what I would typically do is, let's say I've got a curb running up here and it sort of curves around, and then I've got a curb up this end that sort of curves around, and I've got some nice trees and bits and pieces planted inside there and some hedges. That's all well and good. What I want to do is get my parking line inside this. So I need a datum edge that runs all the way along here. Now, if you don't have curbs or you don't have anything to work off of, that's absolutely fine as well, because all we need to do essentially is I use a string line, literally a chalk line, and I go from start to finish. And all I would do is I'll pick my start point. So in this case, we're going to pick right here. And I've got, let's say, an area, a car park to work in. All I'm going to do is go at the start point, put my chalk line on the ground. Someone else will go to the other end, and we're going to ping a straight line. Now, as long as we pull that string tight, it will be a straight line. Doesn't matter where in the world. Could be facing this way, could be over there, could be up here. Doesn't matter. They're all straight lines. That's the point. Now, we call this the datum edge. So what we're going to do with this datum edge is we're going to decide where the back line of our car parking space is. Now, fortunately, this is normally next to a curb or something that makes sense. So it's usually quite easy to work out where we're going to put the parking spaces in the car park. So we picked a start point here. If you don't have somebody to help you, I also use a heavy bucket of paint and literally put the chalk line on the bucket, walk to the other end and drop it off. So all we're going to do is we're going to do our datum edge like this. Now, once I've got my string line in, let's say whatever gap this is, 5 meters, doesn't really matter. This is our 0 meter point. What I'm going to do is measure where 3 meters is on that line. So if 3 meters, for argument's sake, is right there, and we're going to say this is 3 meters. Now, in the UK, we use meters. In the US, you normally use feet. Now, 3 feet probably isn't enough. So what you probably could do, although it will still work at 3 feet, the difficulty is that it just might not be clear enough when you are looking at it to see if you've got it completely straight. So you can actually change these figures as long as you maintain the ratio. What I mean by this is we call it a 3-4-5, but you could easily make that a 6-8-10. You could even make it a 9-12-15. All of these ratios, 9-12-15, 6-8-10, 3-4-5, they're all the same ratio. So if you're doing feet instead of meters and you can't make it fit in within the meters, use feet. So I'll add all of these as feet. Excuse the handwriting. Essentially, this is in meters here, these ones in feet. So what I want to do now, I've got my 3 meter mark on the ground. What I need to do is get my 4 meter mark. Now, with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my string line on this point. So again, I want somebody to touch the string line on exactly that point there. Now, when I do it, I use the string line and I use a bit of chalk, and I'll have like a tape measure on it, or you could use a tape measure instead of a string line if you want. In fact, we use a real tape. They're really, really handy. And all we're going to do is we're going to roughly, because I don't know where the 90 is yet, I'm going to roughly guess whereabouts I think it is. And so I know it's sort of in front of it here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run up like this. I'm going to run up like this. And then I'm going to draw across here. So what you can see here, This is where I'm walking. I'm looking at the point on the ground. I'm thinking, could be here, could be here. So I'm gonna go this side of it, I'm gonna go this side of it, and essentially all I'm gonna do is draw a big arc on the floor. So I'm gonna go, there's my point on the floor there. I think I'm in line, but what I'll do is I'll draw a big arc like this, all on the floor, exactly 4 meters. Now again, you can change that. Could be 8 feet, could be 12 feet. If you do change it, just make sure you change this one from 3 meters to either 6 or 9 as well. Now, the only thing I do know at this point, somewhere in there, in that arc, is a 4 meter mark. But I do know exactly where the 3 meter mark is. So what I'm going to do is exactly the same as I've just done here. I'm going to do, from this exact point that we've got the 3 meter mark, I'm going to walk up here and I'm going to draw a big arc as well. I'm going to walk over this side and I'm going to draw a big arc across there. Now what you'll see, this part here that you can see, these lines, they're not actually on the floor. That's just for me to show you where I'm walking. So the only bits you're actually going to see on the floor are the intersections here. So let me just show you the exact bits you're going to see. Not where I'm walking like that, but only where I've drawn the arc. Now what you can see is that this area here, it's crossing over. That is exactly my 5 meter line. So from this point where it touches now, I'm going to draw directly down to here. That is now 5 meters. Again, if you wanted to do this in feet and you've changed from 3 meters to 6 feet or 9 feet, then I'm either looking for 10 feet or 15 feet, depending on which one you've gone with. But for the purpose of using meters, this one we know is 3 meters. Where these two cross from the 3 meter mark is exactly 5 meters, which means I have now got a perfect 90 degree. So this one here will be exactly 4 meters because we've got the intersection where it crosses. So this line that we did across here, it'll end on the 4 meter. This line up here will end on the 5 meter where they intersect right there. That is exactly 4 meters. Now what we're going to do with this then is we've got a dot on the ground. We're not going to draw this line in, that's just for reference. All we're doing is we're actually marking this line on the floor here. So what we're left with on our floor now, if you like, is quite simply a mark up here, a mark here, and a mark at the side here. We're then going to string line this one in again, and this will give us, sorry if I just move that over slightly, we'll string line across. Now bear in mind this is only 4 meters, and in the UK we want to do a 5 meter base, so we're going to extend it another meter. So when we're extending it, as long as it crosses over the center of this mark we put on, we know it's a dead 90. So in the US you might use 18 feet for example, but essentially that is our parallel line, the first one. The next one we're going to do is going to move on. So in the UK we might do 2.6 meters wide, you might use 9 feet in the US. I know I've got a 3 meter mark, but I'm actually going to run it 2.6 meters wide. Now I can do exactly the same here. So what we could do is we could work out our 90 to get the next line up here, or, so this one here for example we know is 2.6. What we need to do is get a perfect 90 degree. We can do it the other way, so we can go, this is our datum, and we can swing this out to here at 4 meters, and we can swing this one up at 5 meters. That will give us another 90 degree angle, giving us a perfect 90 up here. So when we drop it down, we know this is exactly 2.6 meters. This is our 5 meter line. All we're going to do now, we've got the dots, the first 2 dots in place. So we've got a dot on the ground here, dot on the ground here. All we're going to do now is measure continually. When we string line, we'll put a string line all the way through so it crosses both of those. And then all we're going to do is every 2.6 meters here in the UK, I'm just going to put a dot on the string line. That's where my bays go. At the bottom, I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to say, okay, need another one down here, another one down here. And then it's basically dot to dot. Really nice and easy.